didn't even know what a cochlear implant was. You know, at first from fighting with the idea of him getting an implant to actually having the opportunity to get it, oh my gosh, it was like a miracle. I told my whole family.
It's given us hope for her to have a normal life, the kind of life that we have. We're very much looking forward to that day that she'll be able to say her first word and then go to preschool, be with other hearing kids.
The look on his face, the look in his eyes.
For the first time, Sam had magic in his eyes when he heard a sound that he'd never heard before. So as parents, that was just amazing. It was just so, wow.
This house in Green Lane, Auckland looks at first glance like any other house in the country. What is miraculous is that half of these children are profoundly deaf, born without the ability to hear a sound, yet 2-year-old Dylan can obviously speak and hear clearly. And mischievous toddler Sam is taking his first words.
Mum's gonna kill us.
But 6 months ago, things were very different for Sam.
I used to skite about being able to vacuum under Sam's cot and he wouldn't wake up. Well, then we soon found out why that was.
We spent Christmas holidays down at the beach and a lot of friends of ours sort of said, you know, do you think there's anything wrong with his hearing? And at that point we sort of thought, well, yeah, maybe there is, and started investigating from there.
It was then that we did some basic reaction tests and that we realised that there's something not quite right.
Michelle and Renelio have 2 children. Their youngest, Rihanna, started to struggle with her language.
We kind of suspected it when she was already a year old. We were comparing it with my son's childhood when he was the same age and he was already talking at the time. First thing we did was have her checked by the GP, and then they did I think the usual hearing test.
Eli tērā, tēnā rā tātou, ko tēnei toku tama, ko Elijah Kira. So my name's Maria Pare, and this is my son Elijah. When he was a baby, I don't know if it was the vibrations or what, I thought he could hear me. I think it was the midwife that sort of was a bit worried about his hearing from the time he was born. So to be told that he was actually deaf, oh my gosh, it broke my heart. It absolutely broke my heart.
Absolutely devastated to begin with.
I don't know, in the formal setting that we were in, couldn't really break down and cry, but as soon as we left that, went out to the car and we both sort of looked at each other from either sides of the car before we were about to get in, and we just both burst into tears. Obviously the emotions and everything were running wild for us, and you know, also thinking about Sam.
Oh, it was heartbreaking. Yeah, because we don't have anyone in the family who's deaf. Our initial thought was, since she cannot hear, then the only way for her to communicate, or for us to communicate with her, is sign language. After they found out that she really can't hear anything at all, then they referred us to Hearing House.
The Hearing House is a charity for deaf children and their families, enabling deaf or hearing-impaired children to listen and speak. And that's all thanks to cochlear implant technology and auditory verbal therapy.
I'm Cheryl Dixon and I'm clinical director here at the Hearing House. There wasn't a clinic set up, it was just surgeons doing the cochlear implant surgery, and then children were switched on by an audiologist and they weren't getting the results that they thought they were going to be getting.
When you put a cochlear implant in a child, that's not enough on its own. You need to actually be able to teach the child how to hear.
A group of surgeons and families of deaf children got together and formed the Hearing House to provide the auditory verbal therapy that was so desperately needed for these children. Colin Brown is an ear and throat surgeon at Gillies Hospital in Auckland.
My association with Hearing House goes back right to the very, very beginning, when we first found a house to call the Hearing House. The cochlear implant, in reasonably simple terms, is just an electronic device, and I think if you just think of it as an advanced form of hearing aid, we won't go too far wrong with that.
You can give someone a cochlear implant, but if you don't give them the therapy, it's like giving someone a Ferrari but not teaching them how to drive.
Shona Gilby and her husband Mike's two younger children, Aaron and Isla, are both profoundly deaf. When Isla was diagnosed, Aaron, who's 16 months older, already had a cochlear implant.
We knew from Aaron that there was quite a big journey to come. We also knew that through the Hearing House we'd spoken to parents who'd had their children implanted, and we were able to meet some of the children who were maybe 8, 9 years old, and we were hearing how beautifully they were speaking. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? So you knew the results can be good, but the journey to get there will be tough, and it is a big commitment, and you have to commit to a lot of therapy and all the audiology appointments. But I guess I was already doing it all with Aaron, so now we just had to adapt things to include both of them.
When I first heard about it, I was a bit iffy. All I thought was, oh my gosh, they're going to drill into my son's head. I can't let anybody drill into my baby's head. When I went to talk to the people at the Hearing House, I asked them all these questions, and they were really awesome. They were really cool.
This is the internal device. It has a little magnet here and an aerial around the outside, and this is the aerial of the external device, and the two of them just talk to each other by passing electrical signal through to each other, through the skin, and they're attracted to each other by this magnet. The advantage of using the magnet is that you're able to just have transmission across the skin rather than through the skin, so that means that there's no external wires.
There are many other kids who are just beginning this journey, like Rihanna, who will receive her cochlear implant in 2 weeks' time. Even though she can't hear music, she already loves dancing.
We noticed that most of the time she'd walk on tiptoes, and when she watched Angelina Ballerina on TV, she'd imitate the dancing. It would be kind of sad if she won't have that opportunity to be able to listen to music. Having that implant would enable her to do whatever she wants to do in life. It's really a big thing for us.
My name is Lydia O'Connor. I'm an auditory verbal therapist. My background is in speech language therapy, and my main role is to work with children and their families. At the Hearing House, we all have a passion for teaching these deaf children to learn to listen and speak. Everyone who's here really enjoys working with the children. It's really somewhere the families can come and just feel welcome as soon as they step in the door.
I remember feeling that the minute that I walked in the door. Yeah, it was just like, wow, this feels like home. This feels like a place that I want to be part of, and that I want Sam and Brett and our family to be part of.
Sam has only had hearing for about 10, 11 weeks now, so it's very early days for him. It's a bit like a 10 or 11-week-old baby. We're not expecting him to say words yet, but we're expecting him to hear them and listen to them, and eventually those will come back in speech.
So a typical therapy session is about an hour long and involves the parent and the child coming along. The parent is, of course, the child's natural language teacher. We can coach them and guide them so that they can be successful here and then be successful at home as well.
Put it in, and you can say it for him.
Okay,
For a little while. He will get the hang of it.
Yeah.
Woo! Did your daddy do it? That's right. Good talking. Put it in. And so as soon as he makes the sound, regardless if it's out of sequence, he gets the ball. Yeah.
When we look at our data for the diagnosis of deafness, New Zealand children were picked up far, far, far too late. And in fact, we had one of the worst detection rates of deafness of anywhere within the developed world.
For every month that a parent waits to really find out if there's a problem, that's another month of language delay that child will have to overcome.
So as the years go by, that auditory area gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually just disappears altogether. Really, the oldest age that we would be comfortable with fitting one for a child who has got no speech or language would be somewhere between the ages of 4 to 6.
The average age of identification of a profound hearing loss, I believe, is getting younger because we now have newborn hearing screening rolling out here in New Zealand.
The Hearing House also helps children with hearing aids, as well as cochlear implants. Hamilton student Rose relied on hearing aids most of her life, but 3 months ago had a cochlear implant operation.
We found just recently that her hearing had deteriorated. We actually didn't notice that because she was making up for her hearing loss by reading lips. So that was picked up and the cochlear implant was proceeded with.
Audiologist Rachel is about to carry out a vital procedure called mapping.
I need to create the levels that allow her to pick up sounds, important for her to be able to communicate and to be able to listen. It's a 22-channel device that's trying to replace 35,000 hair cells. We create a window of sounds for Rose to be able to hear. We have her listen to soft sounds and find those across the electrode array, but then also set what's loud and comfortable for her. So we'll start with the soft sounds, okay? Yeah. So when you hear it, say yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do a little test, okay? Ooh.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Apple.
Shh. Shh. Toothbrush.
Toothbrush.
Sound good?
Yep.
You tell me if it's too loud, okay?
Yeah.
It's loud for us.
It's loud, but
it didn't hurt.
Not.
It didn't hurt, yeah.
So while the device still needs some fine-tuning, for Rose and her family, the implant has had a major impact.
Before, I couldn't really hear what people were saying, and I was always getting my parents to repeat what they were saying. And now I can actually hear what they're saying. Like, I can actually hear like trees whistling in the wind and stuff like that.
I think she's just become a happier person. She's more outgoing. Now, she wouldn't have normally answered all these questions. She would normally look at me. The understanding and the hearings helped her socially, which is marvellous.